It is just a huge, huge honor today to be podcast interviewing Scott Dahlquist. We went to dental school together, class of 87. He's in town for a big ball game from his favorite college football team. It's BYU playing
University of Arizona
Wildcats.
Right, at Phoenix, University of Phoenix, the Cardinal Stadium.
And the reason that's relevant is because all through dental school, all of our friends, we could go out any night, drink as much as we want, because we always had a designated driver from Brigham Young University. We never had to worry about how are we going to get home. Are we going to get a DUI? No. We always had Scott to drive. How was it driving home a car full of drunks?
It was really terrible, but someone had to do it.
Were you? Did you always think, I'm glad I don't drink after watching?
Most of the time.
Yeah. It's funny, as I get older, I hardly ever drink. I mean, I might have maybe, what do you say, Ryan? How often do you think I have a drink?
Don't drink.
I basically don't drink, but maybe once every...
Every now and then, if like a buddy's in town, like...
Yeah, so I maybe have a drink like maybe every, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, but it's amazing when you go to dinner and you watch someone start the conversation really, really intelligent. Then 3 doubles later, he's almost completely insane. It's always interesting to watch that digression. But man, there's so much to talk about because we're coming up on our 30-year class
30
reunion.
Years. Yeah.
And you know what I love the most about you in dental school is if I had to describe you with one word, it'd be hard to pick. I mean, I could say humble, genuine, honest. You were just a world-class guy. And in dentistry...
Well, a lot has changed, by the way.
No, you're a sociopath.
Yeah, that's right.
No, in dentistry, you just go through the biggest names in lectures. I mean, they'll go out and they'll just show, their perfect root canal. Right. They won't show the 10 that they had to send to the other endodontist across town and end up getting extracted, or they always show their perfect case. They never show their failure. What I always liked about you is if you made a mistake, if you fell down, if you like a CAD CAM, if you bought a CAD CAM machine, didn't like it,
right?
You're the first one to just say, yeah, I bought it, but I don't use it. I'm trying to sell it.
Right. Right.
Talk about that journey, because no one's gonna. That's why I like Dentistry Uncensored, because what the message is gonna be. It's gonna be, all the people who make a living teaching it, selling it.
Right.
If that's your living, that's all you're gonna say the good. But there is two sides to every coin.
We wanted to, being in a group practice with 3 other dentists that we really felt like we. Do almost all aspects of dentistry. We weren't sure we were staying up on technology, so we explored everything and even got involved with the E4D. And we found out that after a few months that we actually gave it back. We used the, 90 days or whatever, but it was not friendly. But we thought we'd kind of done our homework, and we ended up getting the CEREC CAD CAM. But we're in a group practice where, we're just a different animal. I felt like the CEREC was being marketed to dentists that maybe weren't as busy as they wanted to be. So they said, well, I've got some time in my day to do things like, not take impressions, but go and, use the OmniCam, then I could actually mill it, or I could designate it to other members, but kind of almost a way to fill their day. But when it all came down to it, I work in a practice that has 50 employees with us, and we found that we fought over it. We found that the level of expertise was not there amongst the auxiliaries. We found out that the chair space was not there, and ultimately we found that we couldn't get the quality that we would absolutely even put in our own mouth one of those restorations. That wasn't always the case, but the case, it was, 2 out of 5 looked really good. 3 of them looked just terrible. They were C minuses, and we just didn't want to do C minus dentistry. And we tried, and we got more training and tried, and it just didn't fit because of the volume. And our experience is that we're a large group practice in 16,000 square feet, but
in Bakersfield, California.
And
that's capitaldentalgroup.com.
Capital with an AL. And the problem is that we have to fight that feel of a clinic where patients come in and say, oh, I don't care which dentist I see today. I said, no, you've been assigned, you've seen Dr. Dahlquist for 4 years. That's your dentist. We don't pass you around. We're not like a corporate dental group. So for us to fight that clinic feel, the CAD cam just didn't work for us because we were still too busy. And we just didn't get the quality that we wanted.
What I don't understand is, okay, so you're a dentist, you should be making this kind of money, so you invest $150 to be a lab man, and then you say, well, no, I'm going to have my assistant do it. Okay, well, the lab person at the dental lab makes 50 crowns a day for the last 10 years. How many has your assistant made? And then how long would it take to ramp up your assistant where she could get a job at Glidewell?
Never.
Or-
It wouldn't happen because she got too many other
It wouldn't happen
duties.
in- so
she
I
has
don't get it.
and so we said, well, let's just even try to hire one person to only do that.
Now
And
you
that
have
person didn't work either.
you were the most social friendly guy in my dental school class I remember. Do you have friends the dentist friends that agree or disagree with your situation?
I don't have any dental friends that talk about it. I have a relative, a cousin that I grew up with. He lives in Idaho Falls. He uses it. I heard he enjoys it. There's a clinician in Bakersfield that's kind of patterned his practice after that. But the clinician in Bakersfield gave us a big slide presentation, and he's thinking, he's kind of patting himself on the back. And I walked out of there and turned to one of my colleagues and said, I wouldn't put any of those things in my mouth, which he just did. Those were awful. And he was really proud of it. So I just thought the quality was not there, So you can't always tell. And he thought he was great. So I just found that it wasn't good. I didn't find it user friendly. I'm
going to send this picture to all our UMKC friends. And you know who you have to get on this podcast from our class? The dental schools are half women.
Yes, I understand.
I am booked out 6 months advance with white males. And all the email feedback is, how come you don't ever have women?
Yeah.
Or if you do have a woman, it's a hygienist or a dental consultant.
Right.
So Stephanie Caramata, she'd be the greatest deal. She's too shy. She goes, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, come on, Steph, you're 50 years old.
I friended her, I friended somebody, a classmate, Kim Hightower.
Yeah.
And then because of that, 6 other people, Pasco Scarpella, Louise, remember Wheezy? La Greco.
When we do this, try to get the other girls because there's just no 50-year-old female role models for the 25 and under half the class girls.
Stephanie would be.
Like when you talk about the greatest implants, you said Cliff Ruddle and Steve Buchanan.
Right.
Every time you talk about, who's the greatest implantologist? Carl Miss. You're always going to mention a white male.
Right.
You're never going to mention a female or an Hispanic or an Asian.
There's some very talented people. Lots of them like to keep low profiles.
I know.
Unless you see them in the airport magazines like King, Dr. King out of Atlanta is a woman that,
Yep, Deborah King.
Yeah, Deborah King.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple Sheets down in Newport
Carolyn
Beach.
Sheets.
Yeah, those ladies. But,
You're right.
It's a
But
different thing.
There needs to be more women role model.
Yeah.
More 50, 60, 70-year-old women need to come out of the closet because Scott came out of the closet. So can you. No, I'm just kidding. So the CAD cam shows that there's a different strokes for different folks. I mean,
I think so.
look at a hamburger. I mean, just a hamburger. I mean, look at the difference between McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and In-N-Out and Sonic Drive-In.
Right.
So
now, even
so
all
there's
the
no
craft
one
burgers
size.
are now out. You go Five Guys, you go to The Habit, you go to all these. They keep trying to reinvent it, but
CAD cam didn't work for you.
It really didn't, and it's for sale. And I actually talked to a friend who said, "Oh yeah, you'll get maybe 15,000 for that." And I'm like, "Well, that's not good. It's a mistake."
So how are you trying to sell it?
I think eBay.
Well, one of the greatest things on Dental Town that's the most understood is that it has free classified ads. So now, on any given day, there's like 5,500 classified ads looking for an associate, or you're an associate looking for a job, selling used dental equipment. I have some of the biggest love emails I've ever gotten in my life is I went back in my lab and I realized I got 5 things I haven't used. I had a laser, I had an air abrasion, I had some soldering joint, and they told their dental assistant, put all this stuff on Dental Town Classified Ad and I'll split the money with you, and made like $30,000 in a week. But yeah, if you're looking for a job, and we copied Monster Jobs, so if you're a lawyer for Monster Jobs right now, you now have my testimony. Yeah, so we looked at Monster Jobs, and you could upload a photo, you could upload a PDF, you could upload a resume. We did like that. So the dental schools. But yeah, I'm always amazed at how there's 100 ways to skin a cat. So when someone says you have to do this or you have to do that, or I mean, I can find a successful dentist who's broken every rule in the book.
Right.
I want to ask you another thing about Bakersfield. Not to, I mean, first of all, you and I are old enough to remember the king of late night television was Johnny Carson. And how did he describe Bakersfield, California?
The armpit of California. And it still is that way.
But your city, tell me what's your fault. Your city, I swear to God, if anybody talks about California and crystal meth, they talk about Bakersfield. Is that true? Is that a bad? I mean, is that a bad rub or
no? It's a correct rub. We kind of have all strata of socioeconomic groups, but what I tend to focus on and choose to focus on is just we have a lot of hardworking people that are trying for the American dream, and that's why we enjoy a practice that we have. You know, we're open 7 days a week, and that attracted me when I was practicing in Salt Lake City for almost 20 years, where every year no dentists were retiring because they had no savings, no forced savings, no nothing, because they were just barely getting by, and more dentists were coming to town.
No, what town was this?
Salt Lake City, and I was in the suburb of Holladay.
So how old were they when they didn't have any savings?
Oh, 70.
Okay, but how does a person get to 70 and not be ready for retirement? I mean,
because they've spent everything they've had and not made the money, not had the business, and started working.
Do you think their business wasn't doing as good, or their personal consumption was too high?
Both. I think both. And I found that after a few years, I was very unhappy with dentistry because I felt like I was putting a lot of hard work into it and not reaping the financial rewards that I thought I should. Became kind of disenfranchised, kind of disillusioned, almost divorcing myself from the practice. And actually, when I talked to a few of my colleagues outside of the state of Utah, like Kirk Marriott, who was with Dental One at the time, and some of these others, had said, well, first of all, you got to get out of Utah. You have to get out of Utah. And I said, so, this was 10 years ago. And I said, oh, well, it was more like 12. So I started the process of looking really hard, and I was really close about 10 years ago to going to work for Comfort Dental for Rick Kushner in Denver. Now, this is before his explosive growth. But I was kind of like, well, I guess this is what it is. But I was held back because I was going to have to invest $550, $500,000 10 years ago. And I just wasn't sure about jumping back into that financial strain until I met my classmate again at my 20-year high school reunion. That was one of my colleagues that lives in Bakersfield. And he said, yeah, come work at Capital Dental Group.
This is chip casting.
Chip casting. Excuse me, dental school reunion. Yeah, dental school reunion. He goes, no, don't work for Comfort Dental. Come work for me. And I said, well, now Bakersfield, being the armpit of California. But, I flew there, was not impressed, with the city, terrible weather and everything. Went into the office, totally impressed. 250 new patients a month, open 7 days a week, doing things that no one else does. The facility is top notch. It was only about 3 years old. And it was, and immediately, within even the first month of working there, I met some goals that I had had for a long time to do $85,000 a month, and I didn't even have patients.
83,333 is $1 million a year.
That's what I did my first month. So, I did $85,000 without any patients, just with new patients and stuff they gave me. Did $85,000, and I thought,
$1 million a year.
Yeah, I'm going to do this, and made the right decision at that time. I was kind of in a rock and a hard place. I had to do things like short sold my practice in Salt Lake City, but that was really my only option.
Podcasters are usually young. Old guys like us aren't podcasters.
Yeah.
They're pretty much, all the data is they're 30 and under. Okay. So it's millennials. So they don't know what a short sell is. What did you call it? What would you say a short?
I short sold my practice, which means
what does that mean?
Well, it meant I owed more on my practice than I could get to sell, and so I was kind of upside down, like on a home. I was upside down. I was not upside down on my home, but I found that I kept having to borrow for myself personally just to make my practice grow, just to make it go actually. And so I don't know exact figures, but I think I owed $320,000 and I short sold it for $255,000, something like that. And a gentleman, a young kid who said I'd rather have my own practice opening up, and he found out that it was going to cost him $300,000 to just open up. And then he said, no, I think I'll come back and get your practice, which had patients, great equipment, ADEC equipment, 4 ops. I even sold him my AR for very inexpensive, 30 cents on the dollar. So I basically short sold it, made deals with the finance companies. They didn't get their full amount, but they got, 80, 90%. They got close, but not, so it was that or bankrupting, which I didn't want to do, but I just was dying on the vine. I even started working a couple of days a week
you've
for
been
someone
there
else.
how long?
20 years.
Okay,
Well,
but let's talk about that, because when you look at economic data, dentists in Utah is number 50 on average income. They're the lowest average income of all 50 states. There seems to be more dentists per people.
yeah,
in
there
Utah.
were 33 dentists in a half-mile radius of my office.
And-
no one
and-
was retiring.
And then they decided to add 2 dental schools.
They had 2 dental schools since I've left,
Yeah,
which is,
since you-
is ridiculous.
It was rock bottom.
I know.
And then they add 2
Well,
dental
because
schools.
they saw all these LDS men and women going, and they think that's the greatest profession. They brought in a private school before they brought in the University of Utah. So a private school to kind of fleece the guys who couldn't get into the U. So say
The U is in Salt Lake.
yeah, Salt Lake, and then they brought in
So
as
is
a
that
Rosemont.
Salt Lake City?
Right.
Salt Lake City University?
No,
Or
it's called University of Utah.
University of Utah is in Salt Lake. University of Utah.
Uh-huh. And they had already a med school with a great reputation. So they said, well, let's just get a dental school. I think their class size is fairly small, but
And then Roseman is for twice the money. For the
4 times the money.
4 times the money. But
Yeah.
okay, but let's back up. Why I mean it seems like if you met 10 dentists in any state of the United States,
Yeah.
if you met 10 dentists, one of them is LDS.
Oh,
do
maybe.
they have an extra attraction to dentistry?
I think that they want some kind of professional status, but they want more reasonable hours. They don't want to be delivering babies at 2 a.m. They want some kind of an 8 to 5. They think it's
Because they're family
prestigious.
people.
Yeah, most of them. And they come out of dental school with maybe a couple of children already. Problem is they come out of school, they have great debt. They want to go into a practice and they can't service that. They can't even hardly service their dental school.
And what
loan.
percent of LDS dentists are male and have a stay-home wife who doesn't work?
I don't know those percentages, but
it
I'm
seems
seeing
like it's
more
higher.
and more. Yeah, it's very high.
Very
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
So they're under a lot of stress because their spouse is not going to bring home a paycheck,
No.
and they're going to have twice as many kids than the average. Would you say that, or is that
Probably. Oh no, absolutely. I think the average is twice what the normal national
Yeah.
average is. Some come out of school with
So
3
so
kids.
my point is this: if you're LDS, you're from Utah, you want the stay-home wife, you want to have 8 children, awesome. But demographics matter.
Yeah.
Demographics matter. Leave.
Yeah.
Go find a rural town
Yeah, Louisiana.
of 3,000 people
Yeah.
with no dentist.
Where you're the king. I have
Yeah.
a relative that left LA areas in Hacienda Heights, and he left and moved to southern Missouri, Joplin, south of Joplin, a smaller town. I think it was Monette.
That's the prettiest country in America.
It's the greatest. And he became not only the dentist, he was the police chief, the fireman. He delivered babies. I mean, this guy, mayor. But they were so thrilled that a dentist, his name was Alan Berry, and great guy. And he just made it, said, this is where I want to raise my family. And the kids went to college and things. But the point I'm making is he went to where he was wanted and needed. And
Supply
I felt
and
like
demand.
moving from Salt Lake to Bakersfield helped me kind of say, I need to be there. People want me to be there. And I enjoyed it. I never was discouraged with dentistry. I was discouraged with the business of it. And I looked at all avenues, from consultants and everything, to trying to do whatever I could do to be better, to be happier. And when I moved to Bakersfield, I really, for the last 10 years, and I have to give props to my classmate, I became the dentist that I am because I practiced all layers, all levels of dentistry, to my satisfaction and the satisfaction of my patients. There's things that go along with that.
Well, so now you went from being a solo dentist
Right.
to a group practice of how many dentists?
There's 4 of us, and we've had associates and specialists at different times with us.
Okay, so
Right now, we have like 7.
so I just
8
want to
dentists.
make one point. If you're gonna go to Salt Lake City because you think you're all that, and you think demographics don't matter, I want you to go practice for 1 year first in Afghanistan or the Congo, and learn about demographics. And you're gonna come back and say, "Damn, those people didn't have any money," and demographics matter huge. And then number
yeah.
2, what Scott and I learned, we're both divorced, is that when you get married, you have sex, children, holidays, family, all this social glue, and the marriage still fails half the time. And so then you decided to get married to 4 other dentists.
Yeah.
How'd that work?
Well, it's funny because at the time I really felt like that was the best option.
Was the sex great?
Yeah, no.
How many kids did you guys have?
None. Yeah, and it's funny because I went into it thinking it's a partnership. This is going to be great. I can share certain things. We'll be able to socialize together. We'll be able at the end of the month say, hey, pat each other on the back and go, what a great month. At the end of the year, we'll be able to say, hey, we really did well. We get a bonus this year of this amount. We're gonna have a partners thing. We're gonna sit around and smoke cigars and say what a great time. None of that happened. That's
Hollywood.
Yeah, it is.
That's Hollywood.
But it's what I kind of thought that it was kind of like, and what we ended up having is meetings that were run by one person who was the managing partner, and it was none of that. The contract that I signed, I didn't look at close enough. That after a couple of years of some promises that were said verbally but not written down were not coming true, and so I had a couple of attorneys look at it, and they said, oh, you're in a really bad contract, you need to get out of this right now. I said, I can't. I'm $400,000 into this. I can't just pull the plug, and there'll be all sorts of issues.
So explain to these kids what happens when you own less than 50% of a business.
I'm a 12.5% owner, and it was made real clear through the contracts that the majority owner is the managing partner, that he will make all decisions. So it turns out that I'm not really even a partner. I was a shareholder. And he made that real clear once at a meeting way early in the partnership, that he actually brought in an attorney to read it. And then she read it, looked at me, said, any questions? And then the attorney walked out of the meeting. I said, that was an awful thing to do. That was embarrassing and kind of condescending to march an attorney in there to read 3 sentences to me and then walk out. So I knew real clear at the very beginning, well, about 2-3 years in, what side the bread was buttered on, because it was like, you're gonna, I'm a shareholder, I'm not a partner. So
what did she walk in and read?
Oh, the contract that said that the managing partner will do this, the managing partner will do this, and you have no decisions on anything. And I said, well, why did I buy into this then?
Wall Street does this all the time. Like, they'll have 2 series of shares, Class A and Class B. And Class B, which everyone holds on Wall Street, is non-voting.
Yeah.
And then the founder who took it public owns just all the Class Bs, and those are the only ones that vote.
Right.
So basically, you bought all this stock, and you're basically powerless. And of course,
there were some benefits of being a partner. There's no question. But and I did use it to the maximum where I could. I did some postdoc training and progressive ortho seminars, and learned how to do straight wire ortho and do some other things that I'm really happy for.
Well, what?
So there were some benefits along the way.
Okay, so why didn't they, in that type of deal where you're going to come in and just get 12.5%, why wouldn't they just have wanted you to be an associate?
Yeah, interesting.
What was the advantage?
Well, I thought that there were some greater advantages. There are some, what would they call them, doctor buybacks, or what do they call some of the benefits that doctors get through the practice. There are some of those. There are some, but I never thought that they outweighed some things like year-end profitability, dividend checks, things to that effect.
So you're trying to sell that partnership now?
I am. I'm trying to sell it, and it's been 10 years, and it's time.
Well, you're talking to thousands of dentists.
No, the ability to make really good money is there. I found that.
If someone's listening to this and wants to buy it, how would they?
I have a broker that I hired. It's Integrity Practice Sales, and his name is Jack Fogelson. Is actually They can contact me at my email. Let me tell you the things that I really learned as I learned how to be a dentist. I learned how to do bony third molar surgeries. I learned how to treat medical emergencies in the office. I mean, the amount of patients that I have seen, I have done probably 3 times as much dentistry in the last 10 years as I did in the first 20. I just really worked hard.
3 times as much in the last 10.
And than I did in the first 20.
I took geometry and algebra, so I should know exactly what that means.
I'm not kidding you, but but you have to remember, I worked Saturday, 8 to 5, Sunday, 9 to 5, Monday, 8 to 5, Tuesday, 1 to 7, and then Wednesdays till 8 to 5. So I put in the time, And I'm at the age now at 58 where I feel like I need to transition a little bit differently. I don't want to say burned out, but I'm at a point where it's a little bit too much for me at this point. And a young, hungry dentist that really wants to get their chops, that's where you learn.
Let's talk about that. Well, I'm 54. You're 58. Do you think 54 and 58-year-olds have less energy than they did at 25?
I do.
Yeah.
I just do. Yeah. I felt like I apexed about a year and a half ago. I really felt it. I honestly said, and I kind of went to the group and said, I think our group is apexed. I think we need to sell to a bigger group.
You know, when I opened my practice, I worked 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 6 days a week for like a decade without thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I remember I worked through all the lunches, and so many times my assistant Jan, I don't know how she kept me. It'd be like 7 o'clock, and some guy would walk in with a toothache, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, we do a root canal, bell crown." And she's just looking at me. She goes, "We're not going to get out until 9." I'm like, 9 o'clock. I mean, who cares? We won't go to bed till 1. I mean, who cares? And I couldn't do that at 50. I couldn't work 7 to 7, 6 days a week at 54.
Yeah.
If you put a gun to my head.
Well, what happens is when you get that burned out, little things in dentistry, it's usually with the patient that wouldn't have bothered you 5 years ago, bother you, and you tend to almost take it on the patient. It's a communication thing. The trust breaks down, and so it really affects you as a professional one. And I recognized it about 18 months ago that I need to make a change. And I tried to kind of reckon with the partners, and they're like, no. And you know, we have divorce in our partnerships. Everybody's feeling it. And I went through mine 4 years ago. I noticed.
What do you mean you have divorce?
Well, I mean, other partners are getting divorced, and some
right
have chosen. Oh yeah, and so there's issues. You know.
So you have 5. There's
we
5.
Have four partners, but we have
including
3.
You?
Yeah, but we have 3 or 4 other associates that come in like a specialist.
Okay, 4 partners. How many of the partners are going through a divorce right now?
Well, 2 of us.
You know what's interesting about that? What was the greatest album ever written? I mean, by record sales.
The White Album.
The what?
The White Album with the Beatles? I don't know.
Maybe it was the
Led
greatest
Zeppelin 4?
double album. I forgot. But anyway, back in the day when you and I were in high school, it was Rumors.
Oh, yeah. That's
And
right.
the reason
Mac.
Rumors was because Fleetwood Mac had 2 girls and 2 guys, and they were both married. And they had scheduled to go away and write an album. And Stevie Nicks was divorcing Lindsey Buckingham.
Right.
And Christy McVie was
John
divorcing John McVie.
Bassist, yeah.
And they had done their thing where they do an album every 3 years or whatever, and they'd gone to the cabin. And so there was so much pain and suffering. And then when everybody would come out, they'd sing these lyrics, and everybody caught some rumor that, oh, you're singing about this. Does that mean he's doing that? Or you're singing about this? Is she doing that? Or no one really knew what the lyrics were, but there was so much pain.
Yeah, you can go your own way.
It
all
was
those
the
songs,
greatest album of all time,
Yeah.
and the greatest albums and some of the greatest art pieces and the greatest poems come from the deepest, darkest pain.
Yeah.
So, yay divorce! Yay divorce! Next time you're getting divorced, find some other people having divorce and go write me a new song. And but I want to talk to the other side about this. So when you talk to general dentists, they're all by themselves. You know, if you ask them, what's your biggest fantasy? They all want more new patients. I mean, they always say,
It's never been a problem in our practice.
It's never been a problem because of why.
Well,
Tell
our
them
exposure.
why.
I'll tell you exactly. We do what no one else does. We have the most unique group practice in all of California with great facilities, great people. And they said, you'll never get people to work Saturday and Sunday. We have people that beg to work Saturday and Sunday because they're hungry and they want to work, and they're good people. And I have extended function dental assistants. I have whatever I need. But the bottom line is we have exposure. You know, they said, well, you're so convenient. And I said, I don't care if that's the calling card. Some people say, well, that's so insulting to me. That's disrespect. No, I can be convenient. But what I do is when they come in, I take care of them in a professional manner. And they said, you guys are so nice here. And I said, well, isn't that the way we're supposed to do it? Like, no, we go to the doctors and they're surly and their staff are this. They put up walls. So we're very opening. We're very open. We're very welcoming. And we just basically put it out there.
Scott, how many patients you see?
Oh, well, I told Amy last Sunday I saw 45 patients.
You know, every
Sunday.
doctor's office I go to in Phoenix, Arizona, 90% still have the glass wall.
Yeah.
You still knock on the deal, and
Yeah.
someone opens up, doesn't make eye contact, sign this.
Yeah.
I mean, the physicians are so horrible. That's why I'm
the worst.
afraid.
Yeah.
That's why I'm afraid of universal health care and
Oh.
single payer system, because right now it's free enterprise and it sucks.
Yeah.
Imagine if they all work for the government.
It's worse.
Here's where I'm gonna I want to focus in on this. I mean, like, okay, so I'm in Ahwatukee. There's 80,000 people here. The only 24-hour pharmacy, Walgreens, is busier than all the
Right.
Monday through Friday 7 to 7
Right.
Walgreens. So here's a dental office. Are you open? I work 8 to 5. Are you open early in the morning? No. You open evening? No. Well, you open on the weekend? No. Can you knock me out? Can you put me to sleep? No. Everything they ask is no. And then the dentist comes to me and says, Howard, I can't get any new patients. Should I do Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest? Or if I start a Snapchat account, will I
you're
build my
right.
practice? Was
Or
your
I'm gonna
office...
hire an $80,000 consultant to solve my problems?
Was your success, do you think, based more on Snapchat or being open 7 days a week?
Well, we stopped paying for advertising, and we just went to social media, period, and did things like you suggested. We put an internally lit sign on the front of our office.
But what are your hours?
We're open almost every night till 7,
Well, what time do you open?
8, sometimes even a little bit earlier.
So you're open 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Go specifically the hours. What are the hours Monday, Tuesday,
Well, the
Wednesday,
problem
Thursday?
is every doctor is a little bit different, but there's
But
always somebody there
ballpark.
at 8 o'clock in the morning.
7 days a week.
Yes, and
8
there's
a.m.
till at least 6 or 7 every night.
And I'll tell you what all the fast food franchises done. They used to have all these complicated hours, open an hour later on Friday and Saturday or this or that. And what's that?
I was just saying your father with the restaurants.
Oh, that's Sonic
and-
Drive-In.
Yeah.
But nobody could remember. Like, okay, it's Friday night. Is Taco Bell stay open an hour earlier, an hour later? But you go to almost every drive-through window, and the hours are like, they'll just be like why is 7-Eleven called 7-Eleven? Because they were open 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. before they went 24
That was
hours.
outrageous.
But I think, do you think? I think extended hours.
No, it is. It
is the
It's-
biggest.
it's not difficult. We've taken all the we just think it's normal. We've done it for so long. We have anesthesiologists come in. We have an oral surgeon that drives up from Pasadena that I knew in undergrad, and we have an endodontist who drives up from northern San Diego because he wants to come up, and so we give him the difficult things that we can't do. We just have we tear down all the barriers.
But let's talk about that. If I drive up to the emergency room and I'm bleeding out my colon or I'm having a heart attack or whatever the hell, they don't send me to 9 different places. They just take you to the hospital and
we
the
do it
doctors
all.
come
we
in.
do it all there.
And
we have
the
part of our
patient-
suites that where we do. Yeah, if people say I really want to be knocked out and they say it in a funny, I'd rather be knocked out. I said we can do that for you. We can schedule that. When can we do that?
And they just
for
say
you?
no, you don't need it.
Well-
and I'll give you another thing. When you go to third world countries, to buy your groceries, you have to go to the meat man, then you got to go to the bakery
Sure.
guy, then you got to go to 6 different stores. But in Americans, you walk into a grocery store,
Get
it's
it
all
all.
there.
Yep.
You walk into the
One-stop
hospital, it's
shopping.
all there. Then they walk into your office and you have 9 different specialties, and all you work on is the mouth.
Yeah.
It's just the mouth, and you have 9 different people, and you guys have the 9 people come to the patient.
We do. We like to actually ourselves do everything. They said, well, I'd like to get orthodontics. I said, well,
Ryan, will you give me the remote control?
if you
TV remote control.
if you
From
have
Fox
a case
Communications.
that's pretty easy or medium case, I can do your orthodontics for you. If you have a very complex case, I'll probably have to send you across the street. But other than that, I do probably 75 to 80% of the consults from ortho that I get because I can do them. There's no reason to send them somewhere else. We can do all your wisdom teeth there. We can do the root canals sometimes we can even do retreats or surgery. But Capital Dental has afforded me the opportunity to become the dentist I am. Now, saying that, I've done it for 10 years and I feel like I'm pretty accomplished.
So you're going to sell
I'm selling my 12.5%.
There's 4 partners,
Right.
but there's
4
people
two
being
of us
25.
that have 2 of us have 12.5%. One has 25% who's been there for like 18 years, and then the managing partner has 50%.
So Chip has 50.
Right.
Okay, so and what is your 12.5% selling for?
I don't know that because
You're such a dentist.
Well, I know because my consultant says that has not been determined yet.
Okay,
But
well,
I
how
bought for $404,000.
404?
And yeah, and then
How can they contact you?
my email.
What's your email?
Longercast. LON.
Longercast?
Yeah, fly fishing. Longercast, LONGERCAST @gmail.com.
We almost have the same email.
Really?
Yeah, mine is Dr. Long Schlong Silver, and yours is Longercast. I'm going to give you an example, though. I'm going to give you an example. If you're watching this on iTunes, you should subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dentaltown Magazine. And the remote control, in my 54 laps around the sun, not one frickin' person on earth knows how to use it. Because when all the engineers remember engineers were people who didn't have enough personality to become a dentist. Every team is trying to get their damn buttons on. So they just cram every damn button on the deal because they're idiots. And in a real company, the customer comes first. If Apple redesigned this remote control, it'd probably have 3 buttons, maybe 4. And everybody on earth would be able to figure it out. But nobody can figure it out because the customer's not first. So your hours of your dental office, those hours were set because that's what the hygienist wanted. That's what the dentist wanted, not what the customer wanted.
True.
You don't have nitrous oxide. You spend 3% of collections on wanting new patients because it's too expensive to plumb for nitrous oxide. You're not going to find a board certified anesthesiologist come in your office because you just want to make a post on Facebook to get it all. You're looking for this 1 out of 10 people that will just fit your limited hours and your limited menu and everything limited, and then you're just confused why no one can use a remote control or your office.
Yeah, we prefer 9 out of 10. We've just opened up all the barriers. We've just broken all the barriers. We've pretty much just opened the doors. And our policy, once again, is you have a toothache before, let's say, 1 in the afternoon, we'll see you that day. If it's after 2, we'll see you within 24 hours. But we just break down every barrier that we can, and that's great.
If you were walking out of dental school now and you were a specialist and you wanted to go back to Salt Lake because that's where all your family was, and you see all the competition on stuff, if you were, say, an endodontist, would you go build out an office and be an endodontist like everybody else?
It's funny you'd say that.
Or would you go to other offices?
It's funny because probably my closest colleague friend in Salt Lake City is in the process of selling, and he's my age, and he's selling. He just said he's had it. There's just too much competition. There's too much backbiting.
What type of specialty?
Endodontics. And he said he's just had it, and he's going to move to. I think he's going to do land development in Tucson.
Well, why? But if. Okay, and then when dentists don't know their overhead.
He's been traveling. Goes up to Rock Springs. He goes out the window.
So he goes to other offices.
He's got a gorgeous office, but he's had to do that because of the way that.
But I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why I would go build a land building and equipment and all that for an overhead when I could go, if I was in an office, I could go into any office and do a $600 to $800 root canal and get 50% net from any provider in town. Why would you do all that overhead when you could just have all that net and just drive around?
Some of the big thing has been the problem with the microscope, having a microscope in the facility there. The one that comes up literally brings a big microscope with him out of his car. He's got a car for that, comes and sets it up. And so and
the orthodontists never, no matter what technology came out, it always got more expensive. I mean, you look at the DVD player came out, it was $800.
Right.
And you come out 10 years later, they're $35 and 10 times better. When I got out of dental school, molar root canal was $1,000.
Right.
Now they're $600 to $800. Yeah. But ortho now is $1,000 more than it was 30 years ago. So look what's happening now. They're sending the impression material to the home.
Right.
You bite into the putty. You send it to this company, and then they send it to Invisalign, who scans it and sends the clear retainers right to the patient, bypassing the orthodontist, and the orthodontists are shocked. They're like, well, what up with that? It's like, because you never got faster, easier, lower cost, or cheaper.
Right.
You're the only person in a negative savings room.
That's funny. That's kind of Gordon Christensen's thing. If it could be better for the patient, less expensive, and faster. Those were kind of his
better,
tenets.
faster, easier, cheaper. That's the tenets of economic theory. I mean, Karl Marx even agreed with that.
Yeah,
and
that's funny. That's what Gordon would always say. Well,
Yeah.
I've been a field evaluator for clinicians report, what they used to call CRA, and that's been always the 3 things: is it faster? Is it easier? Is it cheaper? Is it work? And, you know, quite a few things do and quite a few things don't.
And that's one thing you and I have in common. We're both good friends with Gordon and Rella.
Yeah.
They are Gordon's what, 81?
I think they're in their 80s, and they look fabulous.
I think he's the modern day GV Black Pierre Fauchard of dentistry.
Really is.
Do you know anybody who had a greater impact on dentistry in our career?
Not in my no, I really don't. He's a legend, and he's still very relevant. That's the nice thing. He keeps relevant. He knows it's science based. It's not on who's filling his pockets, who's giving him money to do certain research. It's the Consumer Reports of dentistry, and he stayed true to it.
And the runner-up, we both agree, if it wasn't Gordon Christian, it'd be Stephanie Carmada.
That's right.
Who's now Stephanie Van Dyke.
That's right.
We both agree. If you don't know who she
even
is,
Chippy
she's going to be on the next podcast.
Yeah, Stephanie,
she's our other classmate she built the most world-class dental office.
Oh, don't even know.
Learned
Where's it, out in
implants.
Kansas?
Yeah, it was out in Kansas. Again, genius. So she was in Kansas City, and she went to some small town that started with the A, like Atchison, Kansas. So smart. She went to some town, picked up a building for nothing, built $1 million practice, did implant surgery like nobody's business. She looked like Beethoven. I mean, she just crushed it.
Yeah.
And now she sold it, and she's retired. And she's a legend. And she's
Didn't even know.
And she's too
Didn't even know
shy
she
to be
retired.
on my show.
She
and Ryan,
should.
you better not edit any of this out. We're trying to throw Stephanie under a bus until we guilt shame her to be on my show. Because I want her on the show because you go in these dental school classes and you look at the room, it's half girls.
Yeah.
And they come up and they show you your magazine where everybody in there is a man dentist, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then you go to all the 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 70-year-old women say, write me an article, and they're like, I'm shy. It's like, well, you can't be shy. You got to be a damn role model.
Step up. Yeah,
you got to
you
man
step
up.
Yeah.
You got to man up and be a role model.
Yeah.
So let's cut to the chase. A lot of these kids, they just think it's going to be so cool to do a partnership. And me watching this for 3 decades, again, you go listen to all these dentists and they make a living selling you something. Buy my bonding agent, buy my implant system, buy my CAD cam. I mean, that's their living. Right. And it seems like a lot of people, everybody that's selling the partnership deal. I mean, there's so many transition attorneys and partnership people.
Right.
There's so many people that make their living creating this illusion that you should go marry a dentist. I think the last person I would ever marry is a damn dentist, engineer, physicist. I mean, it's just...
Well, we're so different in our personality and the way that our brains work. I will say that I like the group concept. You have to look closely at contracts.
But the org chart, wouldn't the org chart...
Yeah.
But do you wish you would have got married with a better contract, or do you just wish there'd have been an owner and you just would have been an associate? You got the same pay terms.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I will say that
it's a cleaner org chart.
Yeah,
if you go in there and just know I'm the owner and you're the employee.
There's some
as long as we're all making a lot of money.
Yeah, and that was the problem that there was kind of some gross inequity when some of the partners are the bigger producers, even for the last 5 years, and there's just a lot of gross inequity in the amount of money and things going out. But
would you say this? But by being a minority holder of under 50%, by owning under 49%, in all reality, you were an associate.
I am. Yes, and I was truly a shareholder. And I had to come to terms with that at some point and to say, okay, I need to stop thinking that we're going to get any kind of dividend. Like, hey, we had a great year. We did $8.5 million. I may get a $75,000 bonus at the end of the year. Nothing. No Christmas card, no nothing.
Yeah.
And no pat on the back while you really worked hard. I know you stayed over Labor Day weekend. I know you worked all through the holidays and taxied your family to Salt Lake so they could be with their family, with the extended family. You flew back, worked the week, then drove and then flew back, that kind of thing. You made a lot of sacrifices, and I admit, I learned a lot professionally. I sacrificed a lot, I think, personally, but from a professional standpoint, it's been amazing. I just need a different step I just needed to look at it a little bit different. That's why I am selling, because I can't run at this pace anymore.
Okay, but so let me cut to the chase. So in your new place, what if like one of your best friends from dental school is like, Dan or some guy said, let's do this, just you and me. Let's be a partner. Would you say, okay, I'll get married again? I'm going to get married
not.
for a second time
Probably
with a better
not.
contract?
Yeah, but
or do you say, one of us needs to be the owner?
I think probably one has to be kind of accountable, responsible, the bottom line. At this point, I'm looking at possibly just being a hired gun. A lot of consultants, a lot of brokers will push you towards, no, I got a practice you can buy. I'm not sure I want that. But it's just where I am in my life. I felt like I've missed out on some
Where do you
things.
want to live?
Santa Barbara.
And is that just because you have a crush on
My girlfriend?
on Cliff Ruddle and what's the other one? Cliff Ruddle and Steve Buchanan.
There's a woman.
Is it because you have a crush on Steve Buchanan?
That's right.
Is Cliff Ruddle and Steve Buchanan there?
Yes.
And they used to be partners.
Yes.
We're so old that Spear and Coyce, when I first saw them, were partners. When I saw there's a class example.
Yeah.
So Ruddle and Buchanan were partners.
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
who guessed they got a divorce?
Yeah.
Coyce and Spear were
Yeah, I
partners.
wasn't aware of
who
that.
Who guessed they got a divorce?
Yeah.
I mean, the 4 biggest role models in dentistry.
Oh, well, and Mish.
Coyce, Spear, Ruddle, Buchanan.
Mish fired all his general dentists.
Carl Mish?
Yeah, fired them all. And I said, he had this bevy, and I said, and Chip said, oh, yeah, he let them all go. And I go, well, of course he did.
Yeah.
So
you tell me that you fly all the way back and forth to Seattle and Scottsdale and Santa Maria to see your legends.
Right.
Okay. Well, all your legends
Right.
are divorced partners. And now you're telling me that you want to marry Sally Sue because all through 4 years of dental school, she was your best friend. And Amy and Sally did everything together, and now you decide to get married. That's not going to work.
No, it's the group concept of sharing sharing equipment, sharing things is great. It's great.
But not really though.
Well,
it's not. And can I argue that point?
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
please.
delusion, because if the dentist, according to the ADA, overhead's 65%.
Right.
So 35% is doctor pay.
Right.
25% is staff pay.
Right.
10% is lab pay. 5% is supply pay.
Right.
Facility is 5%.
Right.
So your number one cost is labor. By the time you pay 35% to the doctor, 25% to staff, you have 55 cents of every dollar goes to people. Now, when you look at the S&P 500, when you buy a product and you give $1 for this product, 55 cents of that dollar will end up going to a human being for labor. Just like dentistry is no difference.
Right.
So now if we were going to go into business with a nuclear reactor, and it took 10 years and $10 billion to build the nuclear reactor, now we're not a service anymore. Now we're the overhead is the capital investment. But that's not in a service restaurant. I mean, that's not in a service. Right. So I think getting married to someone to share the lowest cost doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is when you have two group is covering more hours for the consumer.
Right.
So this is screw the consumer. This is your office. Your office is a remote control. And the reason that you want to be with another dentist is so that, if Amy has a toothache now, she shouldn't say, oh, well, he's actually trout fishing. And, she should hear we're here for you.
Right.
Not that Scott's out fishing.
Right.
Oh, Scott's a family man. He doesn't work weekends. He enjoys time with his family. A woman with a toothache doesn't give a shit about your family.
No.
And she doesn't care about your trout fishing.
Exactly.
Yeah. When I go to the hospital.
You really can't be everything for everybody. So you really need to have people that are willing to do that and that can cover those hours, and that you don't have to sacrifice. You don't have to sacrifice socially, personally, and all these other things.
Plus, never let your money get too far from cash. And when you buy a land in a building, it could take you a year, 2, 3 to sell it, and then they're getting half. If you put all your money in stocks or bonds, you could liquefy that in literally 14 seconds.
Right.
And buying a partnership, it makes everything complicated. I would advise you, I'd go be an associate.
Call that a hired gun at my age.
I call it liquidity.
Yeah,
I call it a liquid dentist.
Yeah,
I'm going there, and if we're making bank and everything's all good,
and
it's working for me today.
That's what I'm putting out there. My biggest appeal for the job I'm trying to sell is that you can be very profitable. The money there is very big because you have great exposure. If you're not afraid, it's not for everybody, but you have great exposure. And you can treat all levels of dentistry. If you just want to do this, this isn't the place. This is a chance for you to be a true general dentist. You can restore implants, you can do orthodontic cases, you can endodontic cases, and you can take third molars out at 3:30 in the afternoon and still see 15 hygiene checks. And you can do it, and you can feel like, hey, I really am the complete dentist that I've always wanted to be. And that's what I did learn, and that's what I'd be selling right now, because the chance for you to really be an expanded dentist.
But you said there's associates there. How many associates work
Well,
there?
the associates are all specialists.
Okay, the associates are specialists.
Yes, they are. So they're hired.
And what specialists do you?
We have oral surgeons. We have an oral surgeon, endodontist, and a periodontist.
No pediatric dentist.
No, we need one. We've just talked about it. We just seem to kind of
Pediatric dentists, they only graduate 325 a year in the United States, and there's 330 million people. So
I
this
know,
country
they need
graduates
to be-
one pediatric dentist for every
yeah.
1 million people.
I know. We need to.
I
have
know
them
that
on.
because I took physics.
Yeah, I know. We need a pediatric. We've tried, and we just can't seem to.
Yeah,
do it.
they're more rare. I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
easier to hire a tooth fairy riding a unicorn than to actually hire a pediatric dentist. I mean,
No,
you know,
I agree. But this
I
is a great
okay.
opportunity.
I
It's a
want
great
to
opportunity,
switch
though, it really
gears.
is. Yeah.
I have 4 boys. My oldest 27. You have 3 kids. How old's your oldest?
29, 24, 23.
29, 24, 23?
Right.
Okay, so I want you to put on your dad hat.
Yeah.
She's 29 years old. 2 months ago, 6,000 Americans just graduated with a dental degree. And they've had the same complaint since, gosh darn, Genghis Khan found the first dental school. I didn't do one implant. I didn't do one ortho case. I didn't do one Invisalign. I didn't do any sleep apnea. I didn't make one snort. So they all claim they didn't learn anything. But I've been in all those dental schools. To take 100 people off the street and 4 years later licensed to kill dentists, that's the most incredible feat in the world. And if you have a problem with the dental school, why don't you shut up and go be a dean of one and then talk to me in 5 years, okay? Because that's literally insane.
Yeah.
Trying to and then to pick the right people. You can't even pick the right dental assistant. I mean, 2 people applied, you picked one, now you regret it. They have to pick 100 people that can be licensed dentists in the community for the rest of their life.
Do damage to the public.
Oh my God, it's the hardest feat in the world. But anyway, she's saying this, Scott. I got $350,000 student loans. It doesn't matter what houses are for sale. It matters what's liquid. The only thing selling in Phoenix is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. The only practice that's liquid is a $650,000 practice. So she's $350 in student loans. She bought a practice for $650. She's 25 years old. She's $1 million in debt, and she's asking specifically this. Should I invest in CBCT and learn how to place lasers? Should she invest in an Invisalign short-term ortho? Should she go into sleep medicine snore guard? Should she do the TMD, TMJ, Pankey, Spear, Coys, Scottsdale? Should she get into CAD-CAM? Her main concern is this. Scott, I'm $1 million in debt. I don't want to spend a bunch of money I don't have. What I'd really like to do is make a lot of money and pay off $1 million in debt.
Yeah, just do bread and butter dentistry.
Open on weekends.
Yeah.
So talking to the mic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rap tour.
Yeah, my actual, I've got a son. My youngest son is considering dental school, and he's taking the prep class in the spring. And I'm thinking, what's he going to do? And they're all excited about new technology, but just do bread and butter dentistry and just do the things.
What is bread and butter? That might be an old folk term.
Oral surgery. Oral surgery. Learn how to take teeth out properly and do the right thing with them. Not just take them out.
And extractions. There's no overhead.
Yeah, none.
They pay you $1 for.
None.
I mean, I can pull.
None.
Oh my God, 4 wisdom teeth.
Yeah.
5 minutes. What do you use? An elevator.
Yeah, you can roll them
Small
out.
elevator?
Yeah, it depends.
Oral.
You could do
Okay,
the-
so you recommend she learns oral surgery.
Absolutely, and do it very well. Learn how to do simple orthodontics. Simple, just straightforward orthodontics. It's not the orthodontists make it seem like it's a club with a membership, and you have to have a special card. That's not it. Take the mystique, take the mystery out of orthodontics. Go to a course, a postdoc course, and learn how to do straight wire. I've learned. I didn't think I could.
Who'd you learn it from?
Progressive Ortho. And
Is that POS?
POS?
Who's the founder of that?
McGann?
Do you know him?
No.
Have you ever seen him?
I took it in Sacramento. Didn't go down to their
I've heard of that guy for 30 years.
I
I've
know.
never met anyone who's seen him.
kids are involved. Oh no, he actually exists.
Huh.
Yeah, he's retired, but I think it's Miles. I
That's
think
what it is.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
retired, okay.
But he's retired.
So
Best
when
thing
you,
I ever did.
Okay, when you say simple orthodontist now, okay,
Straight
now,
wire.
do you need okay, so what would be when you say simple orthodontist? I mean, they might be thinking
class 1, class 2 cases, occasional class 3. I don't do any, difficult cross bites. If they're surgically involved, I don't get involved.
okay, I would say just class 1. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
talk
really.
about simple orthodontist, class 1.
That's it. And
number
I
two,
told them I do medium, I do easy and just medium stuff.
number two, you need to be a rocket scientist to read on a 7-year-old girl
Right.
and know what she's going to look like when she's 18. Do you do growing adolescent ortho, or do you just wait till they're
I'll do
full
what
grown?
I call interceptive.
You do interceptive?
I do interceptive as
I
well.
would put interceptive as
Yeah.
advanced.
Yeah.
But when I say easy ortho, I'm talking class 1
At
on
12 years
someone
old.
full grown.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you already know they're already grown. It just
Very
is what it
easy.
is. It's in your chair and it's a class 1 and it's cosmetic. It's
and you could
rotating.
get 12 to 18 months treatment and they don't get discouraged. I offer Invisalign. I know
And what percent of your so when I say easy, because one thing that people who've done dentistry for 30 years forget is where they were on their journey when they walked out of UMKC in 1987.
I was nowhere.
So simple to 50
Simple, yeah.
50-year-old guys. We forget what it was like to be 25. I'm reminded every day looking at Ryan. And what is now? Yeah, I mean, so to me, I think to them, simple is class 1 non-growing adult.
Right.
So of your simple class 1 growing adults, what percent of that would be retainer, clear retainer like Invisalign, or what percent would be
the amount of
bracket and
production
bands?
I do in the dental office, I'd say right now about 40% is ortho, and 60% is what we'd call restorative dentistry. Oral surgery,
So
and
you're
all that.
40% ortho.
And if I had my way, it would be 80%. But what I find is that my restorative dentistry is what drives my ortho practice.
Okay, but of that class 1 ortho,
I'd say
what
more
percent
than about
is fixed wire versus
40%. 40% is Invisalign, and 60% is fixed wire. And
what percent is fixed? 60?
I'd say about 60. It's unfortunate because I learned Invisalign first. I was one of those first people to get training back in 2001 with the court-ordered thing. But I think.
Say, what was the quarter?
Well, they had a general dentist sued when they were only letting orthodontists do it, and they made a court order that I think Discus was doing the training for them or something, but it was court-ordered training for general dentists. I jumped on board.
Was Discus in the lawsuit?
No, I think Discus just was kind of a beneficiary of the whole thing, but they ended up doing the training, and
My
it was
God,
interesting
that's-
way back when. It was
that-
very
what
interesting.
year was that?
Like 2001. It was a very
God,
interesting
I
case. You
forgot
got to
all
look at
about
it. Yeah.
that story. I
And-
remember that. Robert
and
Heyman and Bill Dorfman.
You got it. Yeah.
And
it was,
when
somehow they got
implants
involved
came to
in it.
town, Brandmark only would teach oral surgeons.
Yeah, so they already get sued, and they said, no, you can't do that. You can't discriminate. But I've done oral, I've done Invisalign for 15, 16 years. I've seen the changes, and they're great, and I love the product. I know an orthodontist in Woodland Hills who puts everybody in interceptive removable appliance, kids, and then he gets them to 13 or whatever, and then finishes them off with Invisalign Teen. It's the greatest thing ever. But I just found
The
that
failure of
orthodontics.
Invisalign.
Yeah.
The failure of Invisalign, they would have knocked it out of the ballpark. It was faster, easier, more expensive.
Yeah.
And why did it have to be more
Well,
expensive?
and we
If
make
they
it the same
just,
price.
If they just would have made it, if they just would have added cheaper.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems with
Yeah.
the U.S.
No, you're
capital
right.
system.
Yeah.
They want to go public.
Yeah, then they say,
they
well,
got
we'll
the
make it a little more
shareholder.
expensive. Yes.
So we'll just squeeze a little more money, and that's why.
That's right.
That's
right.
their downfall.
Yeah. So we don't have that as a problem. We actually just say, they say, well, I understand Invisalign's more. No, it's not. It's actually the same price as our
Now, what's the
price.
competitor now to Invisalign?
Clear Choice? Is it? I don't even know. I've
Clear
tried
Choice?
it. I
No,
don't know.
Clear,
No.
Clear Choice is the implant.
Yeah, I know.
Clear Connect.
You got me, but I've not even gotten
Yeah.
involved anymore in any of them. I just use Invisalign.
They've been in court forever,
Yes.
and they're
Spanking
still in
each
court.
other,
I think they're still in Texas, but suing each other. But so did you hear that? So he said, learn how to pull teeth. I mean, oral surgeons and endodontists have the lowest overhead. So oral surgeons, so the average general dentist has 65% overhead, and the average oral surgeon and endodontist is under 40%.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
should just,
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
That's why my friend
You
went into
should hit
endodontics.
pause
Yeah.
right now, then rewind it, then play it again. endodontists, oral surgeons
Yep.
have under 40% overhead. General dentists have 65% because when you pull a wisdom tooth, what's your overhead?
0.
I mean, you got
Very low. You know,
some
they
car
just-
pills
yeah,
of
yeah.
Septicane.
Sure, and your assistant and everything else.
Yeah,
is set
I mean,
up at a
and,
very
you know,
little,
and
very
then
little post-op.
and then
problems.
orthodontics. I mean, orthodontics. How much does braces cost? $5,000, $6,000?
Yeah, about 5.
$5,000. And how much is
Yeah.
brackets for full mouth ortho cost?
Well, not much.
But how much? About
300 probably for the whole thing. 300-400 for the setup for everything, and the time you put into it. The thing
no,
is,
just the brackets.
I think about 300.
Okay, and it costs $5,000. Do the math.
Yeah.
And then what? And then what are you going to come back with? Well, I'll buy a $150,000 CAD cam. I'll buy a $100,000 CBCT. See, every time you get an idea, you go borrow a shitload of money. Every time you have an idea, you
yeah.
borrow money, and then you come back all confused and stressed. And Scott's saying learn oral surgery and orthodontics. I say line up the 9 specialties and ascend them from least overhead to highest overhead. Least overhead is endo, oral surgery. You know,
If you can do pedo properly, it's just a money making thing. If you can do it properly,
and tell them why pedo is profitable.
there'll always be patients. Just the
Because
patients will.
and why is there always patients in pedo? Because nobody wants to do
Nobody
it.
wants to do it.
Everyone
And if you do
wants
do
to-
it right. And
Yeah.
we don't know. I don't know those kinds of people. I just don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know what kind of
nobody
temperament.
likes a crying child.
But
I'd
you know
probably
what?
get married again before I'd have another child. If I had a choice, you want a screaming 2-year-old or you want to get married? I think I'd go ahead and just get married. So I mean,
Yeah, I know.
Pediatric, and then
There'll always be
Obamacare.
kids. Yeah.
Obamacare was a game changer.
Oh, no.
Because
Yeah.
Obamacare said if you sell health insurance to a child under 21, it's got to cover dental.
Right.
So you've added over, I think it's like 8 or 12 million children are now available, have Medicaid and Medicare, and the number one complaint of every Medicaid of every state is nobody's accepting Medicaid
Right.
For
Right.
pediatric dentistry.
Right.
And then Dentaltown has put up like 360 courses on Dentaltown. They've been viewed over 600,000 times. Guess what our most viewed course is?
The pedo.
Pediatric Dentistry by Josh Wren.
Yeah.
Because these people are saying, I opened up, I was in a crowded area, I wasn't making money, I got into pediatric dentistry, and now my practice
Everything's-
exploded. But you got to love pediatric dentistry. I mean, if I had to be a
Yeah.
pediatric dentist, I mean, I'm honest, I'd quit.
Yeah, me too.
I'd quit. I'd go bait your fish hooks when you're out there. Are you trout or salmon?
Fly fishing,
But for trout,
trout.
yeah, I'd be your guide
Yeah, that's
for
right.
$1 an hour.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't do it.
Yeah,
But,
I agree. Well, I like kids, but all in dose, right? The right dosage. I don't want 8 kids a day. I want maybe 1. And
Well, those
they have to be.
pediatric dentists, I mean, you walk in their office and they're just not stressed. It just doesn't bother them.
No, they have
I
a
saw
different
this on a missionary dental trip. We took 3 or 4 of us dentists took about a dozen kids from AT Still down to Antioch, and it was fun working on all the people, and it was just great. But the crying kids, and there was just one kid. He was like a junior at AT Still, and he's just like, "Oh, you're okay," and he's just no problem. Kids screaming his uvula out, and and everybody gave him all the kids, and he was so relaxed. They said, "Okay, now you have the rarest skill set of any of these guys here." And I had a long talk with him. I said, okay, what you just did, no one else is going to do. You got to ride that wave. You got a God-gifted talent to deal with kids, and that's a rare talent. So what other advice would? What about TMD? They think they have to take 14,000 hours.
No,
of TMD
no. I
to
think
be a
you just
quality
need to
dentist.
treat them on a basis. I will treat patients, but I will do it on a very removable, non-invasive way, so that I can help people at the greatest. I can help the most people for the least amount of money. Once again, cheaper, faster. I'll put them in splints, but I won't do any real serious stuff. If they need more than that, then let someone else do the sleep apnea and some of these other.
Okay, what about sleep apnea?
Well, if I need to get them involved in that, I'll get them to someone else. But when you hear what they're coming back with fees, well, it's going to cost me $25,000 for this, and then an additional $12,000 for that, and I think no. So I subscribe to the easier, faster ways to deal with problems. If I need to get a pulmonologist involved for a sleep study, let them do it. But I haven't gotten involved.
I subscribe to what Warren Buffett. So I grew up in Wichita. I went to Creighton in Omaha, Nebraska, good proper Jesuit school, and Warren Buffett was there, and he came and talked to our business class. That was in 1980 to 83, and in 1980, no one knew who Warren Buffett was, and certainly no one in our class knew who we were.
Right.
But he always say that 95% of CEOs, when they go to work all day long, the only thing they accomplish is to make everything more complicated, more expensive, and destroy all their profitability. He said only 5% of CEOs can say no. Say no. That's spending money, it's waste, more complicated, slower, complicated, more expensive, less profitable. And he said only 1 in 20 CEOs can say no. And it takes he said that a millionaire is someone who learns how to say no. A billionaire is someone who always says no. And just say no. I mean, rule number 1, if you're going to have to go borrow money, just say no. And Scott and me have been around the block for 30 flipping years. And oral surgery, endodontics. And if you say you hate endo, you know what? I hate your attitude. How do you hate endo when you don't have to sell it? You have to sell veneers. You have to sell bleach. When I go tell a beautiful woman she should bleach her teeth, she says, why don't you lose 50 pounds and get a tan and wear a wig? You have to sell cosmetic dentistry. You don't have to sell a toothache. They come in, don't they, Scott?
Yeah, they please help me, please.
And they're asking you to pull the tooth or do a root canal.
Right.
And you say, no, I'm going to build my practice on Snapchat. I'm going to say no to everything that's profitable and low overhead and then spend all my time on Snapchat building my practice. Learn how to get someone out of pain. Wisdom tooth, pericornitis.
Yeah.
They don't have money for a root canal in the crown. Or do the root canal. And once you're past that, learn ortho. Just learn how to do bread and butter. And if I had to line up all of our friends that we both know that do $1 million a year and take home $350 and do it on a 4-day work week, they don't place implants, they don't make goddamn surgical guides, they don't do sleep apnea, they don't do any of that shit. They do fillings, they pull teeth, they do root canals, they do Invisalign.
Yeah, that's that pay range is where I'm actually a little bit more than that, and the ability you'll be well compensated in a practice like mine, and you'll have the opportunity. You don't work more than 40 hours a week, but I tell you that learning straightforward general dentistry is what I would promote to even my son who's going to go to dental school. Just learn how to do it and do it well.
What dental school is he going to go to?
At this point, I might steer him towards, if I had to steer him, maybe towards UOP because he could get out quicker and get into it. But I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. He's in school in Utah like all the others, where they crank out 150 out of their undergraduate program.
And where how far along is he?
He's going to be a senior, so he's going to be taking the DAT this spring.
So what's the lowest cost dental school in the world?
I don't know. UMKC. I don't know.
No, here's the biggest secret in town. UOP is bloody expensive. That's $100,000 a year.
No.
So Texas, when they formed Texas as a state, they had all these. I mean, when you drive from El Paso, which is 6 hours from Phoenix,
right?
Drive El Paso to Houston, that's 12 hours. So when you have regional reps, a lot of the regional reps in El Paso, they'll throw in the Arizona territory just because they're 12 hours away from Houston. But anyway, they put on these big, huge tracts of empty, barren land, went into a university trust fund where all the money could only be used in universities. Then later in the 70s, they found that at 3,000 feet, it was all oil.
Yeah, shallow oil.
And those universities, the largest libraries in the world are in Texas. Not even the National Library of Congress. I think University of Texas has like 5 million and 200,000 books, and the government's got like 5 million. But those dental schools down there are so bloody cheap. I know so many people who just moved to Texas just to become a citizen there, because if you can get into a dental school in Texas, it's
way to go.
It's damn near free, because they're not allowed by their constitution to spend that money on anything but education.
Wow.
So the only time I've ever gone into a dental school where they're cloning teeth is University of Texas.
Wow.
I mean you walk in these University of Texas dental schools like, okay, what's not right about this? Because I went to a Jesuit school where we didn't get any government money.
Right.
So I went to Catholic high school. I'm used to these small things barely surviving.
Right. Yeah.
And you walk in these dental schools in Texas, you're like, what the hell's going on? Well, what the hell's going on is they have unlimited money.
So they have to have, you have to be able to be a resident before you can.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure all the details, but Man, if I had to, it'd be worth checking into.
Spearman, Texas. That's good to know.
Yeah, Sharon, Texas. Hey, Scott, I want to tell you, thanks for being my designated driver through all 4 years of
You're
dental
welcome.
school. Dental
We're
school.
both here to say that it actually worked.
and it was so much fun knowing you. You've been a big part of my life. I follow you on Facebook. I'm always clapping for your big trout that you're holding. I grew up with 5 sisters playing Barbie dolls, so I'm not wishing I was in the lake with waders on, holding a big trout. I have to admit that, but no, but anyway, man, thanks for coming on the show. You're such a great guy, and thanks for talking to these kids, because if they can, some people have to learn everything by sticking their tongue in the light socket. Other people read books or listen to other people and say, hey, I'll never forget my sister, who's a nun, who's a Catholic nun. One time when I was little, she said, Howie, come here, put your tongue on that nail. I said, really? So this is how dumb I am. So I went and I licked the nail. It knocked me on the floor. And she goes, isn't that weird? And I'm like, yeah, and you're a nun. Okay, now. But yeah, I mean, if you see someone stick their tongue in a light socket and it knocks them on the floor, don't do it. Learn from what we've learned.
Yeah.
We've gone around the sun 50 flipping times.
It's true.
So if you come out of school and you just make some right decisions fast, and if you don't believe me, go read Warren Buffett. I mean, the guy's got $58 billion in cash, and you have $350,000 in debt, and you're going to tell me for 18 hours why Warren Buffett is wrong and why everyone else is right.
Yeah.
So get back to me with that. Call me again when you're 50.
It's a pleasure.
Hey, thanks,
You're
Scott.
the man. I appreciate it.